Hey everyone, today I'm going to be reviewing this new MOC I made. I'm going to call it an Explode Revamp, but that's not really what it is. Just because it has his head and his shoulders doesn't really mean he's an Explode-like MOC. Really, this is just kind of an experiment that I made. I've been making a lot more MOCs just to test out things, and this is one of those MOCs. So let's get into the review. We're going to start off with the body. This MOC is kind of interesting. For one thing, I don't remember most of the techniques I used to build it because half of this was built like a month ago and the other half of it was just finished today. This breather thing that I put on his head, it looks cool, but it will kind of fall down and get out of his mouth, so you kind of have to keep his head in check. You have to hold him, you have to move his head by this breather piece, that way it doesn't move. His back looks pretty cool. He's actually very nicely closed up. One of the reasons why I like using red is because black always goes well with red, and another thing is you don't have to worry about finding a bunch of black techniques, because I typically like to cover up these red techniques, but whenever red is in the color scheme, you can use as many of those as you want. So that's one reason I like using red. And the same for blue, because you can use all those blue axle connector pieces without having to cover them up. I really like the shoulder design, though. I like being able to use 4 of those up there. I think that makes his shoulders look very full. So I wanted to point out something about the arms. So I was having trouble with the weight of the arms and just the overall connection point, because that's where it's connected with that little joint. So I added this rubber band up here to keep the arms pretty much in the same position. This rubber band will snap it back if it goes down too far. It won't let it go down too far. And also, you can get some interesting poses with this type of arm. And yes, I did see that. His arms aren't the coolest, though. Like, I just slapped weapons on him just so he'd be a complete MOC, but I don't really like the arm design. If I wanted to revamp this MOC even further, I would definitely change the arms and maybe a little bit of the leg design, but I really like the body design with those big Hero Factory armor plate pieces, and then with Iron Man's chest plate. And then I use these treads right here, and they're just connected by a bar, but they're held in by the pieces around them, so they don't really move. I think that looks kind of cool. It looks like armor. I used one of Explode's actual shin armor plates right there, and I think that looks pretty cool. There's a few gaps up around here. You can see light through that, but most of the time people aren't going to be looking at that angle. There are a few gaps right there. I could cover that up, but for the sake of the review, I didn't want to take too long building this MOC, because he's not going to be a display MOC. I mean, he'll probably be broken within a week or something now that he's finally finished. I'll turn it around back again so you can see. He's not closed up the best right around here, but the rest of it looks pretty good. I used these big, I guess you'd call them panel pieces that came from a Ninjago car, and those look really good. They covered up most of the space on the back. But yeah, that's basically all that I can show you on his arms and his body. Now I'll move down to the legs. The legs look pretty good. The thighs are built up completely by techniques, but his shin and just the lower leg is using one of those big preset, I guess you would call it a bone piece. That's what I hear most people call it. I don't really like the foot design. I built that in probably like 5 minutes, and just so I could review him, but I don't really necessarily like the look of that. But they're big enough to where he can stand, so that's all that matters on this MOC. As you can see, the thigh is very thick and it's built up quite nicely. I enjoyed building it. It was a pain to copy, though, because I had to take a lot of pieces off of the first one, and the second one took me a while to find all the pieces. But it uses a super big pre-built Bionicle piece, original Bionicle. You can see some of the shaping of that piece. If you're a Bionicle fan, you'll immediately know what that piece is. I don't know where I got it from. I think it was probably the Black Bow Rock. And it's a very cool piece to use. For one thing, it has so many connection points, you can make some really, really cool designs with it, and so that's why I decided to use it for a thigh. It made me have to connect the leg in a weird way, though. If you can see how that's connected, let me move the camera. If you can see how it's connected at an angle, that's odd, and it was hard to connect it and get it to actually be stable. It was a fun challenge, and once I figured out how to get it connected and stabilized, then I just covered up the outside with different tube details and Lego pieces. I used those shin armor plates from Explode again on the back to add a little bit of armoring on the back of his legs. Yeah, but I really like the leg design minus the feet, really. I think it looks pretty good. And I think his legs are long enough this time. Most of the time, fans talk about how some of my leg designs are too short, which I do agree, and I don't know why I don't make them longer, but it's just like once I finish them, I notice how short they are, and then there's not really much I can do unless I want to redesign the legs. But that's really all I have to say about this MOC. It's a good experiment. I'm glad this whole arm system worked out, and I'll probably use that in the future. The only problem with it is this gap right here. Doesn't look the best, but it allows for some extra posability. Overall, I think this is a pretty menacing MOC, and he looks pretty cool in my opinion, but of course I built him, so I'm going to be a little bit biased. So let me know what you think in the comments about this MOC. And as always, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and check out some of my other videos.